How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is RuffledRowlit, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, guys, we've got some Pokemon stuff to talk about. Starting things off with this post by none else than Ball Guy Leaks. Of course, Ball Guy, you guys know him. He does do some occasional leaking, and he tweeted to someone, and this was shared to me and sent to me by Munching Munchlax. So shout out to my boy Munchlax, been around for a long time. But he sent it to me, and I found the original tweet here. I think it's this one. There's the original tweet conversation. So basically, there was a tweet by River Living Life who asked the Ball Guy about this question. Not 227, meaning we'll get news earlier than Pokemon Day. And this is an old piece of stuff that came out like in January, right? And the big question then was like, basically Ball Guy said that we were not going to see this, right? Voice acting for Pokemon, the next generation Winds and Waves. He essentially saying that we're going to get voice acting, but somebody was asking like, okay, does that mean we're going to get news about it earlier or later? He says, as in, won't be seen until the day after the day. Apologies for lack of transparency. Additionally, expect any reveals after Pokemon Day to go hand in hand with introductions of main story mechanics per usual. League Tour, Legend Tour, and tier components. But then recently, this is old, right? This post was from like 26th of January, but this is now a new thing, which Rixie asks, if you saw elements of the story, is Winds and Waves' story good for or appears to be? One of my biggest worries so far is that we get a bad story with barely any depth. And then he says it's similar to Titan. Now, context-wise, Titan is the code name for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. So he's saying story-wise, we're going to get something similar to Scarlet and Violet, which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing. I actually think the story in Scarlet and Violet is relatively decent for a Pokemon story. Okay, obviously, I think like the best plot we've had in Pokemon, probably to most people, would be Pokemon Black and White, probably having the overall best plot line. Personally, I love Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, I'm just saying. But generally speaking, that's the one where people consider like, oh, this is an actually good story that's in the game. I mean, it's still Pokemon, right? So the plot only goes as far as, oh no, the world's going to end because a big baddie and power of friendship will save us, but yeah, so here's what it says though. It says it's similar to Titan, and then it says Champion plays a larger role with Legends and Seed. Ruby and Sapphire RS elements between them, as well as clear rivalry. So RS, so Ruby and Sapphire. So what he's saying here is this first thing, is that the champions of Winds, the actual champion in Pokemon Winds and Waves, right? Not talking about the game champions, but an actual champion in Pokemon Winds and Waves, like the league champion, is going to play a larger role with the legendary Pokemon, and also this thing called the Seed Pokemon. Now, I've spoken about the Seed Pokemon a bit in the past. Now, maybe I have a post about it somewhere here I can show you, because it's been a lot of talks about it in the past, and I've brought it up in several conversations before. I could probably see if I can find it again here, in case you guys want to like learn more about it, because we do know that there's this thing called a Seed Pokemon, which is meant to be a brand new Pokemon that essentially works as a, how do I say this properly? It's meant to essentially be like a Pokemon that changes based on how you play the game. So if you play the game in a certain way, it will change in a certain way, right? So it will, let's say if you spend more time capturing Pokemon, then maybe it looks a certain way, or if you spend more, if you get more fire type Pokemon than any other type of Pokemon, then maybe it changes a bit, or maybe how much you feed it, or how much time you spend with it, or how often you use it in battle, or how often you heal it. Stuff like that. The idea is that the Seed Pokemon is supposed to be a Pokemon that is randomly sort of generated somewhat to be different for everyone. So everybody would get a bit of a different looking Seed Pokemon. Think about Spinda and how Spinda has a billion of those freaking different like shapes you can get on it, like different, the different like patterns, right? And the patterns are there's so many of those patterns, right? Or possible positions they could be put in, that it becomes like super, super rare to get one of the same, or to get one normal, like one of in a specific pattern, and then get that same exact pattern in shiny or something like that. Basically, the idea is to have a Seed Pokemon being essentially a Pokemon that you grow throughout your journey, and it will be connected directly to the legendary, and in this case, the champion. But he says, in my own opinion, my own opinions aren't important, but I think it's a clear narrative improvement and will feel akin to a more linear game. So That's good. It does seem like at least like the implication is that it's not going to be like the worst thing in the world. So at least that makes me happy because that means we could be getting something molto bene, very solid, you know, very nice. And for those of you guys who do not know, if you haven't seen my previous videos, somebody actually asked him as well, can we expect real-time catching in Winds and Waves? And he said you can. At one point, he also heard of a mechanic of charging balls before release, unless that's been removed or kept or not. But yeah, so the real-time catching, as in like sneaking up on Pokemon, that seems to be something that remains, at least based on what's being said. So interesting stuff nonetheless. The other thing though also we have is some thoughts from Jordan, which actually maybe is a little bit curious because we do know that this was the first image that leaked of Pokemon Winds and Waves, like the one of Luminion underwater, essentially being illuminated or illuminating the space around it. And we also know with like Pikachu, the new Pikachu, sorry, we know with Pikachu that he has this whole illumination thingy going on with him, which is interesting because there's been a lot of talk about a light type, and we're going to talk about a light typing, like specifically being a light type Pokemon. We're going to talk about that more, but there does seem like they're really spending a lot of time on the lighting system in this game compared to most of the other games, which makes you wonder, right? Will we get because there was this old leak that I've spoken about in previous videos by a person called Puke. This is a leak from like 2018, 2019. Like, it is old, okay? It's an old leak. But what this leak did say, though, was that we would get an island set of a region with islands where you go on a vacation. There is two guiding legendaries. Wink, wink, you know, wink, wink. There's two guiding legendaries. It's set in Southeast Asia. And there's supposed to be 2 new evolutions and a new typing, the light typing. So, shit, I don't know, man. It is always a possibility, but it is funny because they are improving the lighting engine in this, right, in this game. Like, the lighting system is going to be way better. Like, there's just the way it looks. Like, you've seen it from the trailer already. It seems like they're spending a lot of time on it. So, it's very intriguing. It's very interesting. Even Jordan says, with this much focus, I do kind of wonder if a light-based type or mechanic is coming. You can see a bright light in all of the titles, which is true. There's a bright light in the center right there. As you can tell, there's like a bright light in the top left corner of the Japanese logo. So it's interesting. Also, pretty big news, by the way, but apparently Nintendo is going to be cutting production on some of the Switch 2 consoles by 30%, apparently due to lower than expected sales, particularly in the United States of America, which is interesting because I've seen a lot of, like, listen, I am the kind of person who I'm sort of indifferent in regards to a lot of stuff. I do not know. I do not want to pay to unlock this article, but basically, to answer the question, yes, Nintendo is going to be cutting their Switch 2 output by quite a large margin. But yeah, it is very intriguing. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because we saw with Pokopia coming out that Pokopia boosted the sales of the Switch 2, but I guess that wasn't enough. Like, at the end of the day, you got to think about it. Pokopia appeals to a very particular set of people. I was able to enjoy it, even though it's not I'm not the target audience, but I do feel like I am an exception, not the rule. Because I in any other day, any other situation, if I wasn't a YouTuber, I probably wouldn't have purchased it and even tried it. I wouldn't even have given it a shot, which I don't think is fair because I think it's a good game. But the barrier to entry to actually play Pokopia is, for the lack of a better term, fucking steep, okay? You have to buy an entire console, which, depending on where you are in the world, like, what is a Switch 2 going for, like, right now, just here in, like, Europe? So right now, it's 469 euros. So give or take $500 dues for you North Americans. Yeah, it is. It's a lot, man. $500 essentially, or 469 again. Like, if you're in Europa, right? Europa. If you're here, it is like a lot, okay? But that's not where it ends. If you didn't want to get the game too, it is $70, okay? Like, let me see Pokopia right now. I could have actually gone down. Let me see Pokopia Kopen. No, it's actually $80. Holy shit! If you want to buy it here. If you want to buy it in like, I'm in Belgium. If you want to buy it here from MediaMarkt, it is $79.99. I mean, you can buy it from like another website, but then it's like $66.49. But still, if you just want to go to a store and pick it up, it is $80. Like, I thought it was 70, but no, it's $80. It's 80 euro, which that would come out to about $85, give or take, because, you know, the conversion rates and all that, it always changes. It used to be like much bigger discrepancy, but now it's like getting a bit closer. Actually, now it might be even further. I don't even know. My point mainly is that's like 550 plus bucks you got to spend just in euros, like let alone if you're in the US, it might be more or less. I don't know. Again, I don't know US prices because I don't live there. So I don't know. But my main point is just the barrier to entry is massive in terms of cost. It costs a lot. And just because like you see people online or people like tweeting like, oh, yeah, but I can afford it. Yeah, but shut the fuck up. Okay. Not everybody can. Okay. Not everybody has the ability to just go and drop that amount of money. Again, me as doing YouTube, I was sponsored to get the console, so I was fine, right? For me, it was whatever. Buying the game, I will be honest, I did not want to spend that amount of money. But again, I make that money back on videos. But an average person is not going to be making money back on it. They're just buying it to play it and have fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the game is by far one of the best Pokemon. I don't think I've had as much fun in a Pokemon game since probably... It's going to sound really bad. Probably Oras. I know that sounds bad. Probably Oras would be the last time I actually had this much fun in a Pokemon game where I genuinely enjoyed myself. Like I didn't have any sort of feeling in my body of like, oh man, like there's something wrong with it, right? There's no feeling like that. You could also say Legends Arceus, but even with Legends Arceus, there was like some elements of that game where I was like, the lack of battling in that game kind of made it a little bit less, you know. But other than that, that was a great game. But I think Pokopia is the first one where I just had that childlike wonder again. The same way I felt when I played Oras back in like 2014, I think. Yeah, 2014. But yeah, this is very, very interesting, but also a little concerning because the reality of it is this, right? People right now don't have the money to spend, and buying a 400 plus, you know, buck console is a lot. It's expensive, and they keep bumping the prices, by the way. So it's going to be even more expensive. You're even less likely to buy it because are you going to prioritize buying food for your family or buying a goddamn console? Yeah, I know what I would prioritize. The console. No, no, it's a lot. It's just a lot, you know, it's just a lot. But yeah, that's just that. Moving on to the next thing, though, we do have some interesting stuff. Apparently, this is from our boy Necro Felipe, who says Pokemon Champions will probably get a new trailer this week at the definitive release date on Switch. On the Switch, my curiosity is on the monetization issue, so we will see how that's going to turn out. But speaking of that, actually, we do seem to maybe have gotten a accidental leak of the actual release date of the game. So here is what it's about. Does the official Pokemon TikTok with 10 million followers have a video with English text saying Pokemon Champion releases March 25th? Yes. Yes, is it real? Yes. Does the game release on March 25th? No. Has the release been poorly managed by all those involved? Yes. So yeah, this is a mess up. You can see this is the official account saying Pokemon Champions launches on Nintendo Switch on March 25th. You can also pre-register for a mobile version now. Ready to join the battle yet? Now, here's the thing. Tomorrow is the 25th. Now, interestingly, there is something, though, that is important to mention, which is that this week we are getting a demo that is playable if you are at PAX East in the United States. I think it's Boston, right? Because I went there in 2018 to Boston to the PAX East, which was really fun, actually. But yes, they're going to be having a demo playable there between March 26th and 29th, which is around the time we're now expecting to get, like, either today / tomorrow, an actual release date trailer, blah, 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 whatever. You know, we're expecting to see that. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is, I guess. We're going to have to wait and see if anything comes from that. As of right now, we don't really know, let's be real. But that's at least something that now is weird because is you know, what does this mean, dog? But we can pretty much assume that the release of, you know, Pokemon Champions is going to be somewhere mid-April because we know it's coming out in April. We know that because they said that themselves. Like, officially, they said that. They just didn't confirm the exact date. And now we're going to bring it back to the Pokemon Light typing, right? Like a new typing being added because the last time we had a new Pokemon typing added was Pokemon X and Y, right? With fairy typing being added. But before that, if you actually think about it, before that, we had two typings added in Gen 2, which was Ice. No, wait, was it Ice? Was it? No, it was Dark. I think it was it Dark and Ice? Or am I crazy? I know Dark. Hold up. Was it Dark? Let's see. Pokemon Gen 2 added Dark typing. I'm pretty sure it added Dark typing. Did it not? Oh my god, am I confusing types now? Dark and Steel, that's it, not Ice. I was like, wait a minute, no, Ice types were in Kanto. No, they introduced, sorry, Dark and Steel typing. That's what they introduced, right? So, yeah, basically, they introduced it back then. They introduced Dark and Steel type, and this was essentially to just balance out the typings a little bit, because I think, like, one of the problems was, even as it says here, Psychic typing was an issue in Gen 1, which, if you think about it, yeah, I mean, you know, Alakazam and shit, but yeah, point is, they introduced 2 new typings then. Then it took them another, what, like 4 generations, so between Gen 2 and until Gen 6, that's when they added a new typing with Fairy typing, and now it's been another essentially 4 generations since then, and we haven't had a new typing added anywhere in between. So it's about time we get a new typing, and there is one typing, actually there's 2 types of typing that I think would fit. Either a light and a sound type. A light type and a sound type I think would be perfect. I think a sound type would make a lot of sense because a lot of Pokemon like Chatot, the new DJ Rotom, there's Pokemon like that could fit really well with it. And even other Pokemon like Rillaboom. I know now it already has a typing or whatever, but I'm just saying, you know, I'm just saying. But either way, here it is. Here's what he has to say, though. So do I actually think a light type will happen in Winds and Waves? Maybe. Either way, I have spent way too much time on this. So these are all the Pokemon I think could potentially or realistically get the sound or light type. Seeing how many Pokemon fit it, why I think one of the best options for, why I think it's one of the best options. So light type, right? He has the Clefairies, the Clefables, Clefairies, which I wonder, though, those could have also fit with, like, you know, just fairy typing, to be fair. I feel like light type is less likely than sound type. I think sound type makes more sense. Because with sound type, you got, like, Noivern could get it too, you know what I mean? Like, there's a decent amount of Pokemon that would fit the sound typing. Again, maybe it's just me. But you got quite a few selections of Pokemon in here. But then it goes on and says, I didn't explain my reasoning, but it looked like at every single Pokemon if they looked related to the physical light or pure or good personality. So all the Pokemon here have something related to light in their dex, design, demeanor, moves, or evolve with stones related to light or light emanating celestial bodies while still making sense. So, like, I could have added Nidoking, etc., but I tried my best to not swap types unless necessary. So Poison Ground is perfectly fine, even if it evolves with a Moonstone. Unlike Skitty, which is monotyped, but has a moon in its design, like a crescent moon in its face, literally its face shape. But yeah, unlike Skitty, which has a monotype, but it has a moon in its design and evolves with a Moonstone. In particular, love that the Gigalith line uses solar energy to shoot light beams, and Melodic's body glows and then releases waves of peaceful energy. And then the biggest stretch were some of the type changes. I was very hesitant to change the Shiinotic line, Solrock, and Lunatone, and Minior, but the first 3 are just strongly connected to light. Lastly, obviously, the yellow Shellos is a fun guess, but comes from lore in Pokopia, would cross-promote perfectly, which I think it should and it would, but you know, what I think doesn't really matter now, does it? But yeah, that pretty much summarizes, I think, today's video and today's information. So I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it was nice to talk about. We will have a few more videos coming out, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Peace out.